Right, so I need to tell you about the 2 weeks I was technically homeless and also had 2 homes, which is not a sentence I ever expected to say about myself. Here's what happened. Priya, my spare room tenant, the tidy one, the polite one, the one who never once left a dish in the sink, finished her work assignment and moved back home to India. Lovely woman. I cried a little seeing her off, which surprised us both. So the room was empty again, and right around the same time I matched with a house sit. 2 weeks, a house near Manuel Antonio on the Costa Rican coast, a terrier named Pixel who is, I was warned in advance, afraid of coconuts for reasons unknown. No, here's where I did something I'm rather proud of. Instead of just leaving my own house sitting empty while I went off to sit someone else's house, I listed my spare room for the exact 2 weeks I'd be away. A visiting graduate student took it. Gone most of the day, home for 2 weeks, paying me the whole time. So I was about to fly to the coast of Costa Rica, paying nothing for accommodation, and back home my own house was earning money without me in it. I have never in my life felt so financially clever and so slightly out of my depth at the same time. Pixel and I got acquainted on day 1, and I want to describe him properly because photographs do not do him justice. 9 pounds. The confidence of a much larger dog who has recently won several fights. He greeted me by barking at my suitcase for a full 3 minutes, as though it had personally wronged him in a past life. The owner's instructions were thorough. Feed him twice daily, walk him along the beach path each morning, never at midday, the heat is brutal. And a line I read 3 times because I assumed I'd misread it. Do not let him see a coconut fall from a tree. He has never recovered from the first time. I did not understand this warning until day 2, when a coconut dropped from a palm roughly 20 feet from us, and Pixel launched himself sideways into a hedge, like the coconut had opened fire on him personally. I stood there, laughing so hard I nearly dropped the leash, while a small dog quivered inside a bush over a piece of fruit. Mare, when I told her this over a very poor phone connection, said, "Connie, you've flown to another country to babysit a dog with a fruit phobia, and when you say it like that, it does sound rather absurd." It was also, without question, one of the funniest things I have witnessed in years. Our first proper adventure was the beach path into town, and I was not prepared for the monkeys. Capuchin monkeys, small, quick, and utterly without shame, live in the trees, right along that stretch of coast, and they have apparently learned that tourists carry snacks. I had half a bag of plantain chips in my beach tote. I turned to check on Pixel for one moment, and turned back to find a monkey sitting calmly on a low branch, eating my plantain chips with the unbothered air of someone who'd paid for them himself. Pixel, to his credit, barked bravely at the monkey from a safe distance of approximately 20 feet, which I felt was an accurate representation of his courage levels overall. Further down the path, we came across a sloth, moving with such profound unhurriedness in a tree above us that I genuinely stood and watched it for 10 straight minutes, completely at peace, while Pixel stared up at it with an expression that seemed to say, "That thing is not a threat, but I don't trust it either." I sent Mare a photo of the sloth, with the caption "New spirit animal," and she replied, "You've said that about 4 different things this trip already," which, again, fair. Lunch that day was at a little roadside soda, which in Costa Rica means a small family-run diner. Not a fizzy drink, a fact I learned after confidently asking a waiter for a soda and being handed a plate of rice. I ordered a casado, which turned out to be rice, black beans, sweet plantain, a bit of cabbage salad, and grilled chicken, all for the equivalent of about $6, and it remains one of the best meals I've had all year. Pixel sat under the table with the theatrical patience of a dog who knew, absolutely knew, that plantain would eventually fall his way. Back at the house that evening, I discovered we'd run out of Pixel's proper food bowl. It had apparently cracked and been tossed the day before I arrived, and nobody had mentioned it. So I did what any sensible woman faced with a dogless bowl, and an abundance of coconuts does. I split one in half, cleaned it out, and served his dinner in a coconut shell. He looked at it. He looked at me. He approached it the way he approaches coconuts falling from trees, which is to say, with deep suspicion. It took him a full 2 minutes to accept that this coconut was not in fact going to attack him, before he ate out of it quite happily. I have never been prouder of solving a problem with something I found on the ground. Day 9, we tried something bigger. A short hike inland to a waterfall the homeowner had recommended, assuring me it was an easy trail, very manageable. It was not, by my standards, an easy trail. It was manageable in the way that climbing a slightly damp staircase for 40 minutes is manageable. But we made it, Pixel trotting along ahead of me like he'd done this 1,000 times, and the waterfall itself, when we finally reached it, made every damp, slightly undignified step worth it. Cold, clear water crashing into a pool, mist catching the light, and Pixel standing at the edge, barking at the water itself, apparently convinced it too might be a threat. I sat on a rock, soaked in sweat, utterly happy, and thought about how 2 years ago I wouldn't have taken this trip at all. I'd have said it was too expensive, too far, too much for a woman my age to manage on her own. And here I was, on a slightly damp staircase of a hiking trail with someone else's dog, having the time of my life for the cost of a plane ticket and a bit of nerve. It was on the walk back, down from that waterfall, damp and triumphant, that my phone rang. Local country code. I assumed it was the homeowner checking in. It was Gerald. Gerald, my former financial advisor. Gerald, who I fired 2 years ago after discovering exactly how much of my money he'd been quietly charging me to manage. Gerald calling me on a mountain trail in Costa Rica, somehow, to tell me he'd been thinking about my portfolio and wanted to reconnect about my long-term strategy. I said, "Gerald, how did you even get this number?" He said, "I still have you in the system, Connie," which is possibly the most alarming sentence anyone has said to me all year, and I had, earlier that same week, fed a dog dinner out of half a coconut. He went on for a solid 2 minutes about a new fee structure that was apparently more competitive now, and a fund he thought I'd be perfectly suited for, and how he worried I was handling too much on my own these days. I let him finish. Then I said, "Gerald, I am currently standing on a mountain trail in Costa Rica, having just fed a dog out of a coconut, while a graduate student pays rent on my actual house 6,000 kilometers away. I'm handling quite a lot on my own, thank you." There was a pause. Then he said, That's actually very resourceful, Connie." "I know, Gerald." He didn't call back. Here's what I actually took home from those 2 weeks, past the pure joy of that phone call. Money doesn't need to sit still, and neither do I. 1 empty room and 1 open week turned into free travel, paid rent, a coconut-based dog bowl, and a hike I never would have thought myself capable of 2 years ago, and I didn't need anyone charging me a fee to figure any of it out. I flew home with sand still in my shoes, an enormous fondness for Pixel and his ongoing feud with tropical fruit, and a small pang of missing capuchin monkeys, which is not a sentence I expected to say about creatures who stole my plantain chips. So tell me this, have you ever had an old advisor, or really anyone, try to wander back in after you'd already sorted yourself out without them? And has a dog ever been afraid of something so specific it made your whole week? I want both stories. I'm Connie, and apparently I'm resourceful now. Gerald said so himself. Pixel would like it noted that he still doesn't trust coconut.